code.
The source code of the English language, basically.
Exactly. We are tackling something that haunts pretty much everyone. I don't care who you are. If you've ever tried to learn a second language, you know the pain. You are staring at a flashcard. The word means absolutely nothing. Right. So what do? We cheat. We grab onto a rhyme or a sound or something in our own native language just to keep it in our head. I was reading through the source material for today, and it opened with this example that was so funny, but also just tragic. It's about the Tai Bao method.
Yeah, right. The table example. It is a perfect illustration of what not to do.
Ideally, yes, but let's walk you through it because it really highlights the problem. The source describes a Chinese speaker trying to memorize the English word table. Now, table sounds a bit like the Chinese phrase Tai Bao.
Right. Phonetically, they are close. But the meaning is the issue. Tai Bao translates to too thin.
Too thin. So to memorize the word for a sturdy wooden object that you eat dinner on, this learner has to force their brain to visualize a table that is, well, impossibly thin, flimsy, maybe about to break.
Which is completely counterintuitive, right? You are associating a concrete object with an adjective that describes its structural failure. You remember the sound, sure. But you have built a bridge out of garbage.
And there was another one. For the word sea, the Japanese word is umi. The memory trick was umi, which apparently means no rice. So the logic, if you can call it that, is below the point where there is no rice lies the sea.
It's creative. I will give them points for creativity. But here is the massive problem with that approach. And it's really the central tension of our deep dive today. When you use those kinds of homophones or sound-alikes from your native language, you are trapping yourself.
But it's stuck in a loop.
You're stuck in a translation loop. You aren't actually learning English. You are building a weird, shaky scaffolding out of your native tongue. You aren't seeing the word sea and thinking of the ocean. You were thinking about rice first. It's just horribly inefficient.
It feels like trying to memorize a phone book by making up a totally unrelated story for every single number. It is exhausting just thinking about it.
Brute force.
Yeah.
And it's linear. You learn one word, you move to the next. What we are exploring today is a completely different philosophy. The source calls it an ecological environment for words, or if you want to sound a bit more dramatic, the word law.
Word law, I love that. It sounds like we are entering the Matrix. I know Kung Fu, but for vocabulary.
In a way, we are. The idea is to stop translating and start seeing the hidden architecture of the English language itself. We are going to use English to explain English. And the key to this architecture isn't random. It is based on symmetry, which is a fundamental law of nature and phonetic patterns.
What promise here is huge. The source claims that instead of learning one word at a time, if you understand this system, learning one word can trigger the memory of 30 others. You could potentially increase your efficiency by 100 times.
It is the difference between addition and multiplication. If you understand the rule, you don't need to memorize the list. You can derive the meanings.
Okay, I am skeptical but ready to be convinced. To prove this works, we're going to go on a journey with just one single concept: thinking. Deep thinking. And the anchor word for today is pensive.
Pensive. It's a really beautiful word.
It is. It means engaged in deep or serious thought. But we aren't just going to define it and move on. We're going to look at a cluster of 30 words that all revolve around thinking and mental states, and they are all organized by a symmetrical family of letters: P, D, and B.
P, D, and B. This is where the visual element really comes into play.
Okay, let's unpack this. Segment 1. We are starting with the letter P. This is our foundation. Why P?
Well, looking at the source, we start with pensive. This is our anchor. If you look at the dictionary, it is defined as deep reflection, often with a tinge of sadness or seriousness. But functionally for our ecosystem today, it represents the act of thinking itself, the mental process.
Okay, so pensive is the sun in the solar system. Everything revolves around it.
Exactly. Now let's look at the pattern. The source identifies a cluster of words that start with P, often followed by a vowel or the letter R. When you see this pattern in this specific ecosystem, it signals a mental action.
Let's hit the first one, ponder. This feels like a heavy word to me. I am pondering my future.
It is heavy. To ponder sits right next to pensive. It means to weigh something carefully in your mind. Think about the physical act of weighing something on a scale. That is what your brain is doing. It's not a split-second decision, it's a process. You are mentally weighing the options.
So ponder implies time and weight.
Correct. Now compare that to perceive.
Perceive, that feels lighter. That's more about noticing.
Yes,
yeah.
But it's a cognitive noticing. It's not just that light hits your eyes, that is just vision. Perceiving is when your brain registers it. To perceive is to understand, to become aware of. It follows that P plus vowel structure. It's a state of mental recognition.
Okay, here's one that I think people, myself included, get wrong all the time. Peruse.
Ah, the trap word.
I feel like people use this to mean skim. You know, you were at a restaurant, the waiter comes over and you say, "Oh, give us a minute. We are just lightly perusing the menu," implying we were just glancing at it.
You are spot on. That is a very common mistake.
Right.
But in our thinking ecosystem, peruse actually means the opposite. It means to examine carefully or read thoroughly.
Wait, really? So if I'm perusing the contract, I'm not skimming it?
No, if you are perusing a contract, you are studying every line, every comma. You are engaging in deep mental scrutiny. It belongs in the pensive family because it is intense thinking.
So when I say I am perusing the menu, technically I am telling the waiter I'm analyzing the font choice and the ingredients list with deep intensity.
You are deeply analyzing those appetizer options, which, to be fair, is an important decision.
It is. Okay, what about the future? Does this P pattern cover thinking about what hasn't happened yet?
It does with predict. Now, you can break this down linguistically. Pre means before, dict means say, saying something before it happens. But fundamentally, prediction is a mental act. It's foresight. You are projecting your thoughts forward.
It fits the pattern. It's a mental construction. What about presume?
Presume, to suppose or take for granted. It is an assumption. Again, it's a mental construct. You are building a belief in your head without full evidence. You are presuming a reality. You are thinking it into existence within your own mind.
And finally, propose.
Propose, to suggest or plan. Whether you are proposing a business plan or proposing marriage, it is a mental projection. You have an idea in your head, a thought, and you're putting it out there for consideration.
So just by locking in P as this marker for thinking, we have already grouped pensive, ponder, perceive, predict, presume, and propose. They are a family.
They share the exact same DNA. And that is just the first branch of the tree. Here's where it gets really interesting. We are going to look at the visual shape of the letter P.
Okay, everyone visualize a lowercase p. Just picture it in your head.
Now hold it up to a mirror. What do you see?
A lowercase d.
Exactly. Symmetry. Nature loves symmetry, right?
Yeah.
You see it in leaves and butterfly wings. And language, whether by accident or design, often mimics these natural patterns. Our source argues that because D is the mirror image of P, the words starting with D in this ecosystem are also reflections of thinking.
That is wild. It sounds almost like a conspiracy theory, but let's look at the data. So the D list is the mirror image of the P list.
Let's test it. Start with deem. D-E-E-M.
I deem this necessary.
Right. To judge, to consider, to hold an opinion. You are deeming it so. It is a pure mental action. It fits the D plus vowel structure perfectly. It is a result of the thinking process.
Okay, next one, decide. This is a big one.
Decide. To make a judgment. Think about the flow here. You ponder, that's the P word, the weighing, and then you decide the D word, the conclusion. You process information, that's the thinking part, and you arrive at a determination. You cut off the other options.
So P is the process, D is the result.
Often, yes. Look at deduce.
Deduce. Logic in action.
To infer or draw a conclusion. A detective doesn't just guess, they deduce. It is a high-level thinking process where you take facts and distill them into a truth.
I am seeing the pattern. What about deliberate?
Deliberate. To think about something carefully and crucially, not hurriedly. If you are deliberating, you are taking your time.
What, that sounds exactly like ponder.
It is very close. They are cousins. Ponder focuses on the weight of the thought. Deliberate focuses on the carefulness of the process. A jury deliberates. They are methodical.
And discern.
Discern. To recognize or distinguish mentally, it is about clarity. Can you discern the truth from the lie? It is a sharpening of thought. You perceive the blur, that's P, but you discern details, that's D.
I like that distinction. Now, not all thinking is clear and logical, though. Sometimes thinking is messy. Sometimes our brains get stuck. Does the D list cover the messy stuff?
Absolutely. This is where we get into the nuanced thinking states. Take the word doubt.
Doubt. Yeah, that's a mental state, a confusing one.
It's the uncertainty of thought. It is a state where you literally cannot decide. You are stuck in the thinking loop. The mirror is foggy.
And dream.
Dream. It is not just what happens when you sleep, it's aspiration, subconscious thought. When you dream of a better future, you are engaging in ambition. It is a mental construct of a reality that doesn't exist yet. It belongs to the mind.
Then there is the scary one, dread.
Dread, fearful thinking. It's the anticipation of something bad. You are thinking about the future, like predict, but you are coloring it with anxiety.
Yeah.
It is the dark mirror of dream.
The source also mentions something really cool about the motion of thought using D words, specifically drift and draw.
This is a great example of metaphorical language. We usually think of drift as a physical thing, a boat drifting on water. But in this ecosystem, we are talking about mental drift.
Like when people say we drifted apart.
Exactly. They didn't physically float away on ice floes. They grew apart mentally and emotionally. Their thoughts and values drifted in different directions. Or the phrase, do you catch my drift?
Do you follow my train of thought?
Precisely. So drift is the wandering of the mind. And then you have draw.
Draw, like drawing a picture.
Or drawing a conclusion.
Ah, the pull.
It represents the movement or pulling of a thought to a final point. You gather the evidence and you pull it together to form a judgment. You draw the conclusion.
And there was one more D word that stood out to me because it feels very stagnant. Dwell. Don't dwell on it.
Dwell. Originally meant to live or reside somewhere, like a dwelling. But in the mental context, to dwell on something means to remain in a state of deep thought about it.
Usually negative, right? You dwell on a mistake.
Often, yes. You build a house in that negative thought and you live there. You dwell.
Man, that is vivid. So we have P for the foundation of thought, D for the mirror image, the judgment, and the state. Now we have to complete the symmetry. What happens if we take that lowercase d and flip it?
Or rotate it. You get B.
The B list.
The source treats P, D, and B as a symmetrical family. They share this thinking DNA. So let's see how B handles the concept of thought.
The first one is the big one, believe.
Believe. To accept as true, it is a mental state. You don't believe with your hands, you believe with your mind. It is a cognitive commitment.
Okay, here's one that surprised me. Bet, like gambling.
It seems physical, placing chips on a table. But think about what a bet requires.
I guess you have to know the odds.
Exactly. It requires evaluation. You have to calculate the risk. You have to think, is this worth it? To bet is to make a calculated mental judgment. If you bet without thinking you aren't betting, you are just losing money.
Fair point. What about blame?
Blame. To assign responsibility. It is a cognitive judgment of fault. You look at a situation, you process it, and you decide this is their fault. That decision is blame.
And blunt, being blunt.
To be blunt implies speaking your thoughts without filtering them. It is a direct line from brain to mouth. The thought is raw and unpolished.
Now we talked about ponder and deliberate as deep thinking. Does B have a version of that?
It does. Brood.
Ooh, brooding. That sounds moody.
It is moody. It's very similar to pensive or ponder, but it usually implies deep, anxious, or unhappy thinking. You brood over a loss. It is a heavy, dark mental state. It's sticky.
The source also paired this with a word I don't use enough, bide, as in bide one's time.
Bide. It is fascinating. We think of it as waiting, but it's waiting in thought. You aren't just standing there staring at the wall. You are mentally calculating the right moment to strike or act. It is an active state of mental patience.
And speaking of the engine that drives all this, brain.
The literal hardware, the brain. In this list, it represents mental capacity. It is intelligence itself.
Okay, I have to bring up the weirdest word on the list. I had never heard this before reading the source material. Brewmate.
Ah, yes, brewmate.
It sounds like something you do to a fancy coffee.
No, it's a biological term. It usually refers to reptiles or amphibians. It is their version of hibernation.
So why is a sleeping lizard on a list about thinking?
Think about the state of hibernation. It is a state of dormancy, suspended existence. It connects back to dream or dwell. It is a state where the active mind shuts down or goes into a deep, deep recess. It is the biological counterpart to the mental state of deep withdrawal.
That is a deep cut. It's like the sleep mode of the ecosystem.
Exactly.
Okay, let's speed it up a bit. Action-oriented thinking. We had peruse for deep study. What is the B version of quick study?
Browse.
Browse, like browsing the internet.
Exactly. Light evaluation. Scanning. When you are browsing a shop, you are thinking, but it's quick processing. Like this it is the opposite of peruse. Peruse is deep, browse is shallow.
The outline also mentioned brave, being brave.
Right. Brave is a mental state of courage. It's a cognitive choice to overcome fear. You are processing danger and mentally deciding to push through it.
And finally, blink. How does blinking fit into thinking?
This one is a bit of a poetic stretch, but it works. Think of the phrase without a blink or without blinking an eye.
Meaning you did it instantly.
Right. Doing something without hesitation. The absence of the blink indicates the sheer speed of the mental decision. You didn't even need the time it takes to blink to make up your mind.
So blink represents the speed of thought.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, let's zoom out for a second. Segment 4, the multiplier effect.
This is where we deliver on the promise from the intro. We just covered roughly 30 words.
Pensive, ponder, perceive, deem, decide, doubt, believe, brood, brain.
Yeah.
It is a lot.
And we didn't memorize them by translating them into another language. We learned them by leveraging three things. One, symmetry. PD and B are visual rotations of each other. Two, phonetic strings. Noticing how adding an R or an L creates variations like brain or blame. And three, the core theme. Everything ties back to pensive, the act of thinking.
And the source mentioned that this is just the beginning, right? Because of prefixes. This is the part that really sold me on the 100 times efficiency claim.
The snowball effect. Once you lock in pensive as the root for weighing thought, you can attach prefixes and unlock words that seem totally unrelated on the surface.
Give us an example.
Take the word expense.
Money. Cost.
Right, but look at the root. Pens from pensive. X means out.
So weighing out.
Exactly, you are weighing the cost out of your pocket. In ancient times, money was metal. You literally weighed it out. An expense is a weighing out of value.
Oh, that is cool. What about dispense, like a soap dispenser?
Dis implies distribution or moving apart. So dispense means weighing out portions to distribute. You dispense justice or you dispense medicine. You are weighing out the correct amount and giving it away.
And compensate.
Compensates together. So compensate means
Weighing together.
weighing things together to make them equal, balancing the scales. If I damage your car, I have to compensate you. I have to provide enough value to balance the weight of the damage.
So compensate isn't just paying someone back. It is thinking together to restore balance.
Precisely. And you didn't need to memorize three separate definitions. You just needed the root code. You understand pens means weight or thought, and the prefixes tell you the direction.
This is honestly mind-blowing. We went from table equals tie bow, a table that is too thin, to this massive interconnected web of P, D, and B words.
It changes how you read. Next time you see a word starting with PD or B, especially followed by an R or a vowel, ask yourself, is this word describing a mental state? You will be surprised how often the answer is yes.
It makes guessing meanings so much easier. If I didn't know what D meant, but I knew the D list rule, I could probably guess it has something to do with thinking or judging.
And that builds retention.
Yeah.
Context is glue for memory. You aren't memorizing isolated data points, you are learning a map.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now?
It means you should stop trying to brute force vocabulary. Stop using the tie-bow method. Look for the patterns, look for the families. The language wants to help you, you just have to learn its laws.
I love that. And I have to leave you with a provocative thought to mull over, or should I say brood over.
Or ponder.
Or ponder. If P, D, and B are symmetrically linked in our vocabulary to cover the concept of thinking, what other hidden patterns are hiding in the alphabet?
It's a rabbit hole.
Think about it. If you take an M and rotate it, you get a W. Are there secret families of words hiding in M and W? Or N and U?
That is a question for another deep dive. But once you start seeing the geometry of letters, you really can't unsee it.
Indeed. Start looking for those patterns in your next read. You might just see the matrix code. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Happy thinking.